It's an industry that has absolutely exploded over the last few years. Many breweries are popping up across Winnipeg and around Manitoba, which has completely saturated the market. Tonight, we look at some of the great breweries this city has to offer.
We are Manitoba's first and only fully female-owned and operated brewery, 90% operated. We have some wonderful guys that work on the team, and 2S LGBTQ owned as well, which is really exciting.
Good Neighbor in Winnipeg's West Broadway neighborhood opened in 2021. Amber says their vision was to bring forth a welcoming space and bring beer back to the neighborhood.
We're not on a mission to become, Winnipeg's or Manitoba's largest craft brewery with our beer in every single store around Manitoba. We want to keep it small, we want to keep it fresh, we want people and neighbors to come in and see us, meet us, learn about beer, learn about what it takes to make great beer, what fresh beer tastes like, so it's not sitting on the shelf for too long. So there's that kind of neighborhood vibe where you're in some of the larger cities around the world, really, where you can go up, you get your fresh produce, you get fresh cheese or meat. We kind of want to bring that back to Winnipeg and bring that fresh beer is at the end of your street.
Morgan says the process of their beer making varies. All of their beer goes through the 8-hour process that is used to create the sugar wort that is used to ferment and create beer.
From that 8-hour process, it can take anywhere from 20 days up to 60 days, depending. Our lagers are conditioned long enough that they are naturally filtered out. So our Czech Premium Pale Lager is the longest at that 60 days, where you have some of the other styles, the sours or the hazy IPAs that typically take a bit of a shorter time.
Morgan says Good Neighbor has a wide variety of beer options for customers.
I'm a lager lover, so I love my kind of Czech style Pilsner. I love our American lager that we now brew. But then we get more experimental with some of Amber's favorites, which are more of the hazy IPA styles. We run a Margarita Gosa as well. So a lot of our inspiration comes from our own experiences or stories we've had in past, whether that's through experience we've had locally with a great cocktail we've tried, or experiences when we're traveling. Just more or less trying to capture our experiences in a glass for our customers.
Our portfolio is really approachable, so you can come in knowing nothing about beer, or maybe you're a macro beer consumer, a Bud Light or a Lab Light consumer, and our door is very open and we're welcoming for folks to come in and try kind of our what you might call an entry-level lager, which aren't entry-level because they're really hard to make and wonderful, but with what people are used to, palate-wise, they can come in and try something that's familiar to them. And then once they become a little bit more comfortable, they can work their way through experiencing beer, barrel-aged beers, sour beers, highly fruited beers, things like that, that we have available.
And with all the options, they have two that are their most popular.
Our hazy IPA, it's juicy, tropical, it has a lower alcohol, so it's like you could have a few and not feel too bad after. And then our House Lime, which is our House Lime lager that we just released a couple weeks ago, and we can't keep it on the shelf. It's just, I don't know if it's the timing, the beer is amazing, Morg. It's great, it's my summer beer for sure.
And when you walk into Good Neighbor, it's got quite the character to it, with the room filled with wood.
We really wanted it to feel warm, neighborhood kind of welcoming, blank slates too, so even though that wood itself is obviously a natural element, so it has its own kind of character throughout it, so we're showing that a little bit, but really it's kind of like that warm home-like feeling when you come in.
Both Morgan and Amber have been in the beer business for over 20 years and continue to love what they are doing.
It's just something that we aspire to be in and continue to be in. It's a great community here, not just within the local craft industry, but as Amber's saying, the support we have from the surrounding communities, just to make sure they are diligent with supporting local. And the space is fantastic, as we have regulars who come in. We see them twice a week, 3 times a week, and it's really feeling like a community and home and family, and there's something very special and unique about that, having a neighborhood brewery where it feels like home to folks, so we really lucked out with that.
Yeah, we'll be out on our little front porch, like waving at people as they go by, and it's so cool to get to know everyone in the community. And I think that's why we really wanted a small neighborhood brewery and nothing like large and regional. Is like we really wanted to know and connect with the people that were drinking our beer and create a relationship, and a positive relationship with beer as much as possible.
When we first started, we had worked to revamp this whole building, and we brought in a brew house and 2 small tanks, and that's all Little Brown Jug had at the beginning. And for 3 years, we made 1 beer.
And that beer is the well-known 1919 Belgian Pale Ale. Kristen Sheffield says Little Brown Jug worked hard to perfect the recipe of 1919 and make a brand that worked with it. And Kristen says that was their focus for their first 3 years that LBJ was open.
Then we started branching out. We made our Golden Ale, which uses wild Manitoba honey, so that's a really exciting product for us just because we are using an agricultural good from that's local. And the business kind of took off from there. So initially we only had those 2 tanks that I was talking about, and now we have a full fleet of tanks, including 3 bright tanks, a full packaging line. We do all of our producing out of this small space, and that's all we really have for the amount of beer that we push out.
They've started to really expand over the last few years in terms of their offerings they have.
Of course, we do have our tap room, which at this point has 8 to 12 offerings all the time. We do have a pilot brew system, so that means that we can just be putting out a few kegs at a time of experimental products. That's all available in the tap room, but what you typically see in the accounts is the products that have become, just totally iconic in this province. 1919 and even now generic lager, people know that they love it, right?
And the creation of their name, Little Brown Jug, Kristen says the goal was to find something that was simple. And when LBJ started in 2016, growlers were a big hit at the time.
So we really worked with the growlers and then the smaller Little Brown Jugs. We had a lot of those in market. 1919, there are 2 reasons why we chose that name. Number one, we all know that was the year of the labor strike in Manitoba, and that was a really important point in our history as a province. We wanted to be able to showcase this. And then second to that, in 1919, that was the first year that there was a commercialized hop in the market, and that hop was a hop in England that was being crossbred with a wild Manitoba hop in Manitoba. And so that was part of it as well. It's called Brewer's Gold, and it's what's featured in 1919.
Kristen says supporting local and serving local is extremely important to them.
We always say at Little Brown Jug that we're building a company to build a community. So that's so much of what it is that we're working to do here, is to be kind of a modern day community space in terms of our tap room, but even working to build hometown pride larger than that. We want people to be in their own spaces all over Manitoba, their own community centers, their sports games, their events, and to have our product as a way to reflect something in Manitoba that they're so proud of being made here. So that local piece is so important to us.
July 17th, when you buy a Tim's coffee, you help youth like Mary Jane.
Thanks for sending me to Tim's camp. A camp that pushed me out of my comfort zone and made me feel grounded. A camp that made me feel brave and gave me the confidence I have today.
Tim's camps help youth write the story they deserve. Wednesday, July 17th, 100% of coffee proceeds change the lives of youth in need.
It's the first of its kind, conceived from the ground up to stir emotion. This is a luxury SUV built without compromise. The look, the sound, the feeling. Its power and design perfectly aligned. The new Mazda CX-90 Hybrid and Plug-in Hybrid, now available at Jerry Gordon's Mazda.
I've been the Mazda dealer in Winnipeg for 45 years, and I've never seen a car quite like this. Right, guys?
Come on down to Colonial Furniture. 660 is the place to go.
So come on down, we got the price that's right. You'll be saving all around the clock tonight.
Come on down to Colonial Furniture. Oh, selling to Winnipeg at clearance prices. Come on down.
And now it's time for Stuff You Should Do, brought to you by Surplus Direct. Get ready to laugh out loud. The Great Outdoors Comedy Festival is coming to Winnipeg July 19th to 21st at Assiniboine Park. Check out the 20th anniversary of Canada's premier classic rock festival. Rock in the Fields of Minnedosa takes place August 2nd to the 4th. Visit the website for the full schedule. If you have a community event, email us.
You might not know how to fix a broken air conditioner, but we do.
That was fast.
And if you need a new one, make no monthly payments and pay no interest until summer 2025.
Call on Reliance. Why pay full price for quality products? Make Surplus Direct your liquidation destination. Appliances, furniture, clothing, and more for up to 80% off retail prices. New loads arrive daily, so don't miss out. Come on back and say hello to Good Buys.
We'll meet, I know we'll meet beyond the shore. We'll kiss just as before. Happy we'll be beyond the sea.
We're all about, well, certainly a big amount of creativeness. We love to do special, unique beers, and we really try to span the gamut of what's available out there.
Kilter is a family-owned and operated brewery in Winnipeg, and their MO is to provide beers for those who like traditional beers and those who do not. Logan Picton says their focus at Kilter is primarily hazy IPAs.
Our flagship beer is the Juicy IPA. It's one of the more well-known NEPAs or New England IPAs in Winnipeg. We do the Waze Hazy Pale Ale, which is another hazy IPA. So beers that are primarily, hoppy in profile, tropical, very aromatic. And then we really like to dig into some fun, creative, sweeter beers. We do a whole series of pie beers throughout the year. We do cocktail-inspired beers. So a Paloma cocktail, a Hurricane, Pina Colada. And then we really like to do a lot of fun lagers. Maybe fun isn't the way to say it. Maybe traditional lagers is the better descriptor. So we'll do like a vintage rice lager, which is sort of inspired by Sapporo or like those Japanese style beers. We do our own kind of Corona. It's the vintage cerveza, so a Mexican corn lager. Basically all the straight shooting beers and then everything else under the sun. We've done a lot of fun beers like that. We've done a pizza beer, which was essentially like a margarita pizza beer. We tossed a bunch of pizza crust, tomatoes, basil in this beer, and you'd think it'd be this wacky, horrible tasting thing, but it turned out being exceptional.
Logan says their beers can take as quick as 3 weeks, like their IPAs, or upwards of 2 months to make, with the lagers staying in tanks a little longer. Logan says their #1 seller by far is their Juicy IPA.
Maybe similar to Fame, where it's timing, it's luck, it's your brand, it's how people see you, it's how you showcase yourself. So we've always been a real fun, approachable brewery. And when Juicy came out, there wasn't really a beer filling that hole in the industry. So it was something that people could latch onto. People are proud to support the brand. They're proud to support a beer that they really like. It was intuitive, or new rather, in Winnipeg at the time. So, it got in there at the right time, and we've just pushed that beer, and it's evolved to be this really well-known, fun, summery drink, but people still consume it all the time.
Logan says they have recently released their first Kilter mix pack and hope to make a twist on that every season and have many other beers coming in the near future. But Logan says it's more than just about making beer.
We have so many great events here that are not even beer focused all the time. We do yoga on Sundays. Sometimes we have musical events where we're bringing in local writers from across the city, across the province. So we're honored to have become a space where folks can come in and showcase their skill set, their talents, whether it be art, and then a place where folks can just come in, with a newborn baby in the afternoon, have a beer with their husband, go out for a walk by the Seine River. Honored, I think, is probably the right word. We've become a destination, and folks say, oh, you guys are a little bit off the beaten path, and that's almost become a good thing in that, if you're coming to Kilter, it's because you're making a trip here, and everyone's gonna have, a good time.
We have been around now for entering our 8th year, and we were kind of part of that first wave of the craft brewery expansion in Winnipeg. So I like to think that we're kind of one of the OGs in the city, and I think we like to put our product forward. We like to put our beer at the forefront, and there's been a lot of changes over the years. Our brewers in the back have been around since day one, and so they've been very consistent, making great products.
General Manager Mark Gibson says the market has completely changed over the last 8 years, which makes things a little more difficult due to all the competition.
There's a lot of great beer out there, so the days of kind of owning a tap are gone. So it's a lot of rotation. So you have to keep reinventing yourself and making sure you're staying current and keep producing great products. And yeah, it's a saturated market, and that's tough, but we're confident in our ability to make great beer.
And great beer they do have, providing many options for all beer drinkers.
Originally when we opened up, we were trying to kind of look after the blue-collar kind of, hard-working person who's just looking for a cold beer at the end of the day. There's a lot of folks out there who just want something simple and easy to drink. Our Torque Blonde, for example, is kind of a beer that we came up with to kind of satisfy that need. So that one is, more for a broader audience. Our Cerveza Lager is fairly new for us, and that's kind of going down the same path where we're trying to, satisfy the volumes, right? Make sure people are buying 15 packs, and we do a lot of keg sales now.
Mark says what makes them unique compared to other breweries is that they put their beer on the forefront, making great beer.
That's something I think that kind of gets lost when the market gets saturated. It becomes more about your brand and your image, and those things are important as well. But for us, the consistency of great beer and taking care of our Torquies, our customers that have been loyal for us for a long time, and putting them at the forefront.
Most recently, they have added a kitchen to their brewery and hope to one day explore an additional location in Winnipeg and potentially expand it to Saskatchewan.
That could be something that would be very exciting to work towards, and finding a little spot that has a little more foot traffic and that can support a kind of a community bar, and that would be something great to work towards. We're continuing to do what we're doing, and we've been here for 8 years, and we're still here, and continue to make great beer.
Impressed? Wait until we get inside. Ready for a thrill? Nice, huh?
They're at the post, and they're off.
Assiniboia Downs live racing Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 7:30. Do the Downs.
I speak with a lot of home equity bank clients, and I love hearing their stories of how CHIP has helped them as a retirement income solution without selling the home that they love. For some of them, that's being able to maintain a certain standard of living. For others, it's renovating their homes. And for many of them, it's simply enjoying more of the things they love. And I can certainly relate to that.
If you're 55 or older, call now for your free, no-obligation CHIP Reverse Mortgage Guide. With CHIP, you could get up to 55% of your home's value in tax-free cash. Take only what you need in a lump sum or over time with no monthly mortgage payments required. Call 1-833-253-2447.
Maybe it's time for you to consider CHIP too.
Call now for your free no-obligation guide. Call 1-833-253-2447. That's 1-833-253-CHIP or visit chip.ca. Call CHIP today and live retirement your way.
What's the retinol brand used most by dermatologists? It's Neutrogena, Rapid Wrinkle Repair. With derm-proven retinol, smooths the look of fine lines in 1 week, deep wrinkles in 4. Neutrogena Rapid Wrinkle Repair.
Why pay full price for quality products? Make Surplus Direct your liquidation destination. Appliances, furniture, clothing, and more for up to 80% off retail prices. New loads arrive daily, so don't miss out. Come on back and say hello to good buys.
This is an Oreo.
Sorry, team. I'll call you back.
Hello. First we twist, then we lick,
then we dunk.
Let's have a good time.
This is the moment.
I want to see more, so watch me now.
Team Megan.
We made it to family feud.
Let's have a good time.
about talent. Watch all new episodes of HET with mind-blowing acts that'll have you saying,
Yes! 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 Yes!
Loved it.
Yes! You were born to do this.
Obviously, yes. I think there's a good chance that you're gonna walk out of here with $1 million.
America's Got Talent. All new. Tuesdays, 8, 7 Central on City TV or stream it on City TV Plus.
One Great City, it's a brew pub. So a brew pub is a restaurant combined with a brewery. So we have a full kitchen, we have a full bar. The kitchen makes most of its food from scratch cooking. Most of our chefs and cooks all have fine dining background. And then behind me we have the brewery, and so that's where we actually brew the beer. So when you're having a beer here, it never travels really more than about 50 feet to actually get into your glass.
Even though One Great City is a brew pub, they do have a heavy focus on the beer they make. Owner Tim Hudak says the beer they make is both adventurous and accessible.
We have the Falcon Blonde. That's been one of our best sellers since we started. It's for people that are more interested in a lager like a Budweiser or like a Coors. And then we've also got one coming out this summer, which is a light lager. It's 3.5%. That'll be called the Local Lager, a bit of a play on words. It's local, but it's also local.
Tim says the creation of all their beers are a mix of art and science.
Obviously, we've been brewing beer for thousands of years, so that's more the art behind it, but then there's also a lot of science as well, where we're discovering new yeast that can go into beers. We're discovering different ways to control those yeast to come up with different flavors, and our guys really like to have fun, really like to experiment, and that's what they do with a lot of their seasonal beers. So those are the ones that we'll brew 1 or 2 batches of a year, sort of more for experimentation. And then the core pours, those are more based on really what individuals are going to prefer in the market. So those are the ones that are designed to be the most popular.
And the process of brewing the beer varies on the type of beer that is being made.
For an ale, you usually have about 2 weeks. You've got the brewing process, which will take a day, and then it'll have to ferment for about 2 weeks. A lager takes a little bit longer. It's usually about a 3-week fermentation.
And there is some big change coming for One Great City.
Well, we have actually a big rebrand this summer, so we're going to be changing all of our cans. We're going to be getting a new logo, so there's going to be quite a shift happening in July. So one of them, as I mentioned, is the Local Lager. The other one is going to be called the Easy Peasy. So it's a lemonade passion fruit sour. Pink can, pink beer, very easy drinking, doesn't really taste like a beer. And again, that's sort of to appeal to those that might not have a super specific beer palate and are looking for more just like a light, fun summer drink.
Tim says it's been a lot of work to get where they are now, but is happy to always get an overwhelmingly positive response from customers on their beer.
Usually what, the way they'll do it, you can see behind me there's one of the smaller fermenters. So with the smaller fermenter, that's where we can do like a small test batch, maybe 500 liters. And then if we get a really good reaction on the beer, we can scale it up and do a full batch. And like some of these, like we've been doing fruited sours for a long time. So the Easy Peasy is sort of a culmination of all of those fruited sours that we've done. And it's what we kind of think of as the pinnacle of our sour beer. We're always, sort of looking to expand. So there's, a variety of ways we could do that. It might be smaller, food and beverage operations throughout the city. It might be adding more tanks to expand the product beyond the prairies. But we're sort of waiting to see where the market wants to go, and then we'll follow that accordingly.
Brewing in my basement after reading a book called Cooked by Michael Pollan, and it just kind of blew up from there. I took it pretty seriously right away, and it just kept growing and growing and growing, and here we are.
Barnhammer Brewing Company has been in existence for 8 years, celebrating their most recent anniversary in June. Tyler and his wife own the brewery.
I do mostly fixing everything, because everything in a brewery always breaks all the time. Like my ideal job would be like brewing / idea person, but for the most part it's repairing stuff. And then she does all the graphic design and a lot of the social media stuff. So yeah, and then her childhood best friend is our head brewer, and then my wife's brother is our salesperson. So we're not a very big company. Like 50% of our permanent employees are basically related, which is kind of cool.
In addition to having a family-run brewery, the beers that they brew are unique compared to other places.
So we have our Lumberjack IPA, double IPA, our 66 New England IPA, our final draft lager, and then the Lasnique Belgique wheat beer and the Guava Tron are main ones, and then seasonally we have the Grandpa Sweater Oatmeal Stout, usually in the winter though. So. We could, like I said before, just make the beers that we think will sell the most, and that's almost invariably IPAs or like lagers, and then maybe some like fruited things. And we have all those things, of course, but yeah, sticking to some of the more traditional stuff is fun too, because you just have like a breadth, right? So.
Tyler says the reason behind the beer that they make is simple.
Yeah, we tend to just make what we want to drink rather than what we think is necessarily going to sell the most. We constantly work on the beer. We always are tweaking it, and we're never going to stop. So yeah, we want to kind of make the beers that we're the most interested in, because it's a lot easier to operate that way if you actually want to drink it, I guess. So.
And Tyler says their process on how long it takes to make the beer varies.
Previously, we used to test batch everything, and now we're a lot more comfortable with our brewing skills and experience to just go right from the concept to the big batch, which is the first few times were a little scary, but the results have always been good. So generally, like 6 weeks from the idea to the beer. We're trying to get better.
And over the next 8 years and beyond, Tyler hopes he can continue what he is doing.
Which means like the beer just keeps getting better. I would like to stay around the same size, because I think it's really easy to lose sight of why we got into it. If we continued to just push growth over everything else, there's a really good chance things would start to slide as far as like quality and ingenuity, I think. So yeah, I want to keep doing the same thing.